It's about two people who are strangers who meet by a chance encounter and spend a very memorable night together.
Premise of the movie is there's two people who they meet one night and they decide to, kind of have a little bit of a intimate night, and things start to shift as the evening goes on, and the way the story's told, it's told out of order.
The demon and I meet in a bar, and there's an instant connection. I think that I know that I certainly have felt that sort of spontaneous depth of connection with someone who you have only known for a very short amount of time relative to the intensity of the feelings. And I think that they both kind of have that feeling for each other upon first meeting, and that's kind of what kicks everything off.
They decide to have this night together, and then everything goes south, and he's kind of driven by, there's almost a sense of vengeance when things go wrong, or a sense of just really wanting to get back to her and capture her and sort of get her back. But even then, he's not totally sure what's going to happen when that happens. I think he's almost on a Terminator-like mission, but without really understanding what the outcome's going to be. It's one day in the romantic life of a serial killer. So it's a thriller. It's got a touch of horror, but it's really a psychological, in-depth experiment into tapping into this one night and part of a day about this serial killer. And it's interesting. This movie came to me before I wrote it in 6 chapters, and I knew how they would play, and I knew they wouldn't play in sequence. And so the first part that came to me was the middle, and the next part that came to me was the beginning, and then a few weeks later the ending came to me. And the writing process for me is sort of a thing where I write in my head before I start to type for days, weeks, sometimes months, and this one happened pretty fast. It was just a few weeks of this whole thing coming together in my head, and but it was all about this central character who was trying to get away from a monster. I like playing with the audience's expectations and emotions with this character and with this movie, and I think the way that it's written and the way it's being shot really helps lend itself to that. It's got these gruesome, chilling, brutal, and very potent moments, I think, and then there's some sweetness and some fairy tale. And when I got together with, teamed up with Giovanni, the DP, and Priscilla Elliott, our production designer, all the early talks were about avoiding thriller and horror tropes, not making the movie dreary like a lot of Oregon forest films, not embracing the rain, and just sort of the summation of it all for us was blood on the flower bed. And so we wanted to create beautiful images and beautiful sets and very surreal and saturated colors, but we wanted to make sure that all that beauty and all that comfort and all that fairy tale was just torn apart, decimated, and we wanted to break your heart. I sent him a number of scripts because I knew he wanted to shoot and produce some films, and this was the one that he believed in and that we came together on, and it's been really special being able to work with Giovanni. Giovanni's been really impressive. He's created
a really great look for the film with JT, and he really knows what he's talking about, which, you know, coming from a point of view of an actor who's loved him as an actor, to walk on set and see him take on a completely different role is really impressive, and not just take on a completely different role, but like excel at it. It's been very cool to watch, and very very fun to work together as, you know, colleagues, peers. It's still strange to me sometimes to look over and see him and be like, you know, like, I've loved you forever, like, as an actor, and here you are now as a DP, and it's been very cool. And him and JT work really, really well together. It's really been a nice experience working with everybody.
JT's great. We had like an instant connection when we met on Zoom to kind of talk about maybe doing this movie together. And I mean, he's just like such a great collaborator. He has such a clear vision. He's like a very economical director in the sense that like he knows exactly what he's looking for, how it's going to cut. And so when he sees it, you as an actor are able to feel confident that he's actually like getting the thing that he feels strongly that he needs. And then, you know, we'll like do additional takes sometimes after that to just kind of play around with it. But, you know, he definitely has like a real eye for what he's doing, and that's rare. Like, so often that's not the case. And so it's really, as an actor, you feel very kind of taken care of in the process of doing your job.
The lady was, I mean, and nobody in the cast will be upset with me for saying this, but the lady was always the most important element, because she was, she must be iconic, she must be vulnerable, and but she must be powerful, and she's the central character in this movie. She's definitely the first character that I dreamed up, and I knew everything sort of had to go towards her. And so it was very important to find somebody who was highly skilled and had an array of credits and had star power, but was also fresh in this space, right? And we found that. We looked really hard, and we found that in WILLA FITZGERALD. She's becoming the lady before my eyes now, and there couldn't be a more perfect person to be playing this role, quite frankly.
The lady is in a lot of ways a character that I've been wanting to play for a very long time, and I think that these characters are also kind of archetypes, and within that there's a lot of room to infuse them with as much depth as you possibly could, and that as an actor is what I love to do. And so it's been, we have so much left to do, but it's been a real joy. I mean, my favorite part about playing her is I think that, that there's so much going on. Like, there's so many layers of her story that it's my job to know about and take care of and protect.
Willa's great. Me and Willa, we got kind of thrown into it because we shot the end first, which is always kind of an interesting thing, but this movie's so out of order anyway that it almost makes sense to shoot the ending first. But Willa's really, she's really like in it and dedicated to what she's doing, and she's, you know, she goes like 110%. She's super prepared, and she's really talented, and you know, that's on set. And then off set we get along really well. We've hung out a handful of times and gone out and grabbed some food and talked about the characters and just gotten to know each other. And she's really a very kind person and giving actor, and it's really sort of all you can ask for in a, you know, kind of in a scene partner. JT is really an interesting filmmaker. He has a very clear vision of what he wants. He's like a purist, essentially. He likes to shoot on film. He's using a lot of really cool lenses, a lot of really wide lenses that I think is going to give the film a really unique look. He's taking a lot of chances in the way he's shooting it, which is exciting because it's going to definitely give this film a very specific voice and a very specific point of view and a really specific look, which is exciting. You know, it's exciting to work with people who want to push things, you know, and when people push things, they tend to get pushback because people, and if you get pushback, it usually means you're doing something different, which I like and I think is exciting. And I really think he's on to something very, very cool.
Similar to how it worked with Willa, I saw some footage. I watched a movie called Dinner in America that Kyle was in that went to Sundance, and he just had such had such power, and he also had a fearlessness. Both him and Willa have that, but it was really the paramount thing that drew me to Kyle, that he had a fearlessness that you only see, that I rarely see in modern actors, and he's a young guy. You rarely see that. He reminded me of, you know, a young De Niro or a young Sean Penn, or Barbara Hershey said he reminds her of young Martin Sheen. The guy will do anything and everything, and he commits fully. And I could tell, based on the movie I'd seen with him in it, that he had that in him.
There's basic things that you know, basic human needs that we all have, and if you can kind of put yourself there, you know, the want for love, the want for acceptance, the feelings of betrayal, the feelings of, you know, having somebody who's in a moment so tender and loving, and then in the next moment, like, you lose that. There's a sense of loss there, and, you know, it's really just piecing it all together until you really kind of understand this guy's, I guess, motivation or where he's coming from and his mindset. It's the same thing as the things that I enjoy about playing the demon is creating these two different versions of this guy, you know, playing the sort of average guy who's really in a little bit over his head. He meets somebody who's very, very different than probably his wife, and, you know, there's that section versus when everything starts to go wrong, and, you know, there's that light switch moment where he comes alive as something else. So the challenges are also the things that I enjoy about it, you know, finding that roadmap, and especially when you work so out of order, it has to be really specific. You have to sort of pinpoint where you are at all times and where he's at mentally and emotionally. So that's been fun. That's been a cool challenge.
I mean, I love working in genre. I think the genre is by far where the most interesting filmmaking happens. I think that genre allows the storytellers, the artists, the actors to kind of all get together and tell a story that's about so much more than it is about on the surface. To me, like, every amazing horror film or thriller is also like an allegory for something much deeper that's at the core of human existence. And I think that's why people love them, is because even if you're not thinking about that in like conscious way while you're watching the movie, even if you've never thought about that in your life, I can guarantee you that the reason why people love horror movies is because they're getting at like the depths of what it is to be a human.
The nice part about, you know, the horror genre and the thriller genre, which I think have a lot of crossover, there really is an audience for it. Like, people are hungry for that. I would say in the way the film world is right now, I think you have like two sort of sure things. You have superhero movies, and then people really show up for horror films, which is cool. There's a lot of support for the genre, so it's fun. It's fun to play in because people really enjoy it. People like being scared. People like, you know, that tense feeling. It's a very visceral experience and shared experience going to see a horror film in the theater, you know, when everybody jumps at the same time or screams at the same time. It's a lot of fun.